Greetings, kindred. Wishing you all happy holidays. And yeah, so here we are at the last full moon of the year. And yeah, let's get started. So the full moon will reach its peak in the sign of Gemini on the 27th of December at 0:33 GMT London, at 11:33 in the AEDT time zone, and the full moon will reach its peak on the 26th of December at 19:33 in the EDT time zone. So basically, in the Far East, the full moon will occur on the 27th, and in the Far West, it will occur on the 26th. I'm sorry if you can hear all that going on outside. There's some kind of scaffolding going up next door at the moment. So, the full moon in Gemini. Let's talk about Gemini a little bit, because to me, in my research, Gemini actually holds a fourfold nature. Now, a lot of people associate Gemini with the twins, and it's not directly the twin energy. It's actually represents two sets of half brothers. Now, two sets of brothers, and they were kind of quite different from each other, especially the first set. So in Egyptian, the first set of brothers that Gemini represents is Osiris and Set. And in the second set of brothers, which is the children of Osiris, was Horus and Anubis. Now, Osiris and Set were actually married to twin sisters, Isis and Nephis, and this is where the twin energy comes in. And also, Osiris and Isis were soulmates. They call them like the twin flame energy. So not so much with Nephis and Set, because their marriage was very disruptive and destructive, actually. So yeah, so there's a fourfold nature that surrounds the Gemini energy. Now, when the moon is in Gemini, it does kind of create, we have this ability to be resourceful if the energies are, or the aspects to that moon are positive. But to me, because we've got two T-squares here, well, we've got one actually that involves the moon. That's kind of negative. We do have the moon in conjunction to the goddess Vesta. So the moon would have just gone over the goddess Vesta, who's at 34 degrees in Taurus. So, this conjunction brings on a strong desire for us to step into our sense of purpose, to have a reason to get up in the morning. But it's also about emotional growth and transformation. So I feel like there has been a growth spurt. And, it has been kind of a difficult year, really, because we're in a 7 numerological year right now. Next year, we'll be going into a numerological 8 universal year. But this year's been a 7 year. And 7 is really kind of etheric. It's more about the ethereal. It's more about our spiritual beliefs, our psychic intuition. It's about the magic, or tapping into the magical sphere. Do you know what I mean? And the full moons in a 7 year are actually quite powerful. Especially this being the full moon, the last full moon of the year, shows me that this is kind of like the grand finale of the 7 numerological year. So, the thing is with the Gemini moon, we can be kind of detached from emotions. That's kind of like the case with air signs, because Gemini is an air sign, like Aquarius is an air sign. Gemini and Aquarius, more so than Libra, can be very detached emotionally. They're more in their head or they're more in their higher consciousness when it comes to Aquarius. But they're both kind of like, can be quite detached from their emotions. And, sometimes when we're detached from our emotions, our sense of reasoning can become quite distorted. But with the Geminian energy, it also emits a lot of like restlessness. Now, the moon in Aquarius can be quite a restless energy as well. But with the Geminian energy, it's like we're always like on the move. Do you know what I mean? We can't keep still. We're quite a fidget. We talk a lot. And, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury also rules Virgo. And Virgo, with Mercury and Virgo, that creates a lot of nervous energy. But the nervous energy of Virgo is more kind of like on an inner level. It's more about the stomach and butterflies in the stomach and the nervous system itself. Whereas with Gemini, it's more in the headspace. Can't keep still. Our heads are always going 100 miles an hour, inventing different things, coming up with different ideas. And sometimes we're so exhausted through this mental energy that, when it comes to actually putting things into practicality, we're exhausted, we're mentally exhausted. And I would say this is more so the case this full moon, since the moon is in opposition to Mercury and Mars as well as the Sun. So Mercury and Mars in conjunction creates a lot of mental energy. It's an abundance of mental energy, but we'll get into that in a minute. So also, there are positive aspects with the moon. The moon is in sextile to Jupiter, but Jupiter is in retrograde in Aries. So normally, when the moon is in sextile to Jupiter, it gives us a strong sense of empathy and spiritual kind of conviction. We're very imaginative again, so our heads are in that inventive kind of mode. But with Jupiter in retrograde in Aries, it's like we can approach new ideas with like a preconception or an expectation of how they will play out, which isn't necessarily, reality. And we can also have a strong sense of self-righteousness as well, and can be strongly opinionated when it comes to our spiritual beliefs. Do you know what I mean? So again, Gemini in its negative energy can represent superficiality. So, it doesn't mean that we're deliberately being self-deceptive. It could be that we've believed in something so strongly for so long, it's hard to kind of let that go, or the more we're kind of like coming to terms with the fact that we may not have all the data or all the information that's correct, we may kind of get on our high horse and like, repel that, basically. So the moon is also entrine to Saturn, who's at 4 degrees in Aquarius. Now, the moon trine Saturn does slow us down a bit, can slow us down, can create a sense of reality, We can be kind of more conservative, but again, we can be over conservative. But it does give off this air of caution. So the good thing with moon and trine to Saturn is we can like really put up with a lot of stuff, a lot of hardship, as long as we're on a mission. And with the moon just crossing the goddess Vesta, it's like we're all looking for a mission. Do you know what I mean? But we mustn't jump on bandwagons. So, the one thing with this aspect though is that, we don't come up with our own ideas, but they can be built on either other people's ideas or foundations that have already been set. So this is where I'm saying, we may have believed something or had faith in something for so long that it's really hard now to face the reality of the facts and to make peace with it. So we will defend. Sometimes we can defend something even though we know it's not right because it disgruntles our spirit. Do you know what I mean? It makes us feel uneasy or restless or very disappointed. We have these two T-squares, like I said. So the first T-square I actually want to talk about is this one here with the goddess Juno and the black moon Lilith that are in conjunction, in opposition to Neptune, and they're all in square to this Mars and Mercury placement in Ophiuchus. Now, when Mars is in conjunction with Mercury, like I said, it creates an enormous mental energy, but it also makes us very kind of competitive, especially when it comes to political movements or media reporting or, investigations that have taken place. If there's two different sides of anything, we tend to jump on bandwagons, and this is what I'm saying. We need to slow down a bit and wait for this energy to pass, really, because our heads are a little bit all over the place. We are kind of feeling a little bit rolled up with this energy. So with Neptune in opposition to the goddess Juno and the black moon Lilith, I mean, with the black moon Lilith in opposition to Neptune, we are very uncertain about the future and maybe a little bit confused about where we're heading. Because the black moon Lilith is in conjunction to Juno, it's about what we've been committing to, whether that's a relationship or a work commitment, or if we feel we've been on our mission in life, our life's purpose, whatever we feel strongly committed to is really being overshadowed by this black moon Lilith's energy at the moment. We're really having to face up to some truths, some self-truths with this conjunction. And with it in opposition to Neptune, though, it can kind of blindside us as well. So things may not be clear at the moment. And this is why it's so important that we kind of get connected more to our instincts, because the energies I'm seeing here is we're all, but many are really in their heads about things. So for those of us that are in tune to our inner temple, to our inner guidance, our inner compass, we can kind of navigate through these energies, although, even we can get confused with issues or belief structures or anything along those lines. See, with Neptune in square to Mercury, who's in retrograde at the moment in Ophiuchus, I mean, he started his retrograde in Sagittarius. He's now retrograded back into Ophiuchus. This is absent-mindedness. This is missing the finer points. It's all about repressed emotions, but it is good for crafting at the moment, for expelling all that confusion or, where we can't think straight, putting all that into something creative, whether it's writing or manually creating something or, anything along those lines. Do you know what I mean? Because communications will be out of sync. And there can be this element of wanting to escape, go into a little bit of escapism as well. But the only thing I would watch out for with this energy is that if we are not, if we're being manipulative, if we are playing games, then we need to understand the consequences, whether that's consequences that will come back onto us or whether that's the consequences of what we're doing to somebody else. Do you know what I mean? So I feel maybe because it's a T square, it could be kind of like we could be under manipulation at the moment, or we could be getting the backlash for the game playing. So, we just need to watch out for that, especially since Mars is at 15 degrees. Now, Mars in Ophiuchus can be quite a manipulating energy, can be quite a dominating energy. But at 15 degrees, it can also be a very corruptive energy. And especially since it's in opposition as well to the moon and the goddess Vesta, who are also in square to Neptune. So we have this Juno black moon Lilith opposition to Neptune. And then we have this T square. So these T squares are kind of combined. Yeah, but let's finish talking about this one right here first of all. So with Neptune is squared to Mars and Mercury, negatively, it can be a little bit of a off-key energy mentally. Like I said, this is a very mental energy that's going on this full moon. So whether we're having our heads played around with, or maybe we're in too much into our own heads, or, we're on the receiving end of that, we just need to maybe take some deep breaths and really tap into our emotional energy, and but if our emotions are feeling a little bit repressed, if we're finding it hard to face up to the reality or the truth of situations, then we really do need to take a step back and, like I said, get creative and pour out all that excess, abundant mental energy into some kind of project. Because, there's a lot of confusion flying around right now, a lot of underhandedness, or even, it could even be on a self-deceptive level. So we also have the goddess Juno in square to Mars and Mercury as well as the black moon Lilith. Now, this is all about our commitments. So whether it's a relationship commitment, like I said, or a work commitment, a career commitment, or even a mission commitment, like our life's purpose, it could be like we're on rocky ground at the moment. Maybe we dived into that situation a little bit too quickly, or we jumped to conclusions a little bit too quickly without forethought or evaluation. So, this energy can be very, very triggering when it comes to any insecurities that we haven't dealt with. So, any insecurities we may have, we need to really analyze those and work on those in a healing aspect, and not get into this sense of self-righteousness and self-defensiveness. So, that's another thing we need to watch out for, whether we're going through that ourselves or we're seeing other people go through that. So I feel there's a lot of self-defensive energy around. It could be within, on a global level, it could be within our media or political establishments, or it could be, like I said, in our own personal commitments, whatever they may be, whatever we're committed to. I mean, for intimate relationships, it could be that, we think it's one thing when really it isn't, it's quite another. There may be even like people growing apart from each other right now, since one partner may be growing a little bit quicker than the other. Because you remember the moon in conjunction to Vesta is all about spiritual growth and transformation. I feel a lot of this energy surrounds our belief structures, whether that's our religious, spiritual, or even the way we see the world. Do you know what I mean? Our preconceptions of what we thought things were, whether that be on a global level or on a personal level. So I think there's a lot of questioning going on right now, but we can't quite get our heads around it because the energies, especially with this Mercury retrograde, it's all about Mercury started his retrograde in Sagittarius. That is all about the lost soul. It's all about finding ourselves again, healing old wounds or old traumas, especially since we have Chiron in opposition to the South Node and also in quincunx to the goddess Pallas. So old wounds may prevent us also from seeing the bigger picture, from recognizing the patterns, because Pallas at 7 degrees, again, 7 in Libra, it's very ethereal. It will take us to really tap into our psychic instincts to truly understand what it's all about. And this T-square here, with the moon and the goddess Vesta, in opposition to Mercury and Mars and creating the T-square towards Neptune. I mean, Neptune's really under it right now. And this is all about our spiritual values, our empathy, our ability to tap into, our dreams, our manifestations, our visions, to see, get a connection, a sense of connectedness is really kind of like hard for us right now. So with the goddess Vesta in opposition to the sun, this is a desire to be recognized for our efforts and time that we've put into our life's purpose. And in opposition to Mercury, this is where we feel torn between our desire for that recognition and the practicalities of what that mission's really about. Because, this is a blind-sighted energy. So we can feel that we're actually unseen when quite clearly we are being seen, but we just can't quite get to grips with that. And that's another thing this energy is all about. It's about getting to grips with things, getting to grips with the reality of whatever situation that pops up for us as individuals or as a collective. So with Mars in opposition to the goddess Vesta, this is like being very conflicted about our life's purpose and about our own personal needs. Do you know what I mean? So we could be feeling very tired right now. Our heads are all over the place. We don't know where we're going. Over the last few years, it's been a constant case of goalposts being shifted. So it's a no wonder that we've reached this peak of like, wow, it's just a mind-blowing energy that can be very disruptive and eruptive. And especially when it's based around our spiritual values, our sense of commitment and loyalty, the changes that are being made. Are we really comfortable with that? Are we fooling ourselves into believing something is true when it isn't? All these things need to be looked at a deeper level and not just on a superficial level. And when I say superficial, I mean on that mundane, sometimes we need to look beneath the surface, but maybe we're not able to do that quite right now. So we just need to wait for this energy to pass. Oh, and we also have Pluto in quincunx to the goddess Vesta. So again, this is about power and control, or desire for power and control. Where we really want to feel like we're in control of our life's purpose. maybe we are being quite demanding at the moment of that. But really, we've got to stay in that place of unconditional love and leave ourselves open for change and the transformation that's taking place right now, especially when it comes to our spiritual values or our religious belief structures, or even our political belief structures, you know, because Pluto will transit back into Capricorn in the new year. And, as Pluto transits through Capricorn, and it is a very slow moving, so we can say over the next 10 years or so, we're going to see a lot of breaking down of corporations, and it's going to be quite a profound thing. Really, we're talking about top institutions, and, we're already seeing this with like the churches and religious belief structures. We're seeing those kind of like taking a sidestep, and that's been going on for a few years now. I mean, if we go back a few years ago, it's quite a shock how those establishments were sidelined for a so-called greater cause. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, a lot of uncertainty right now, a lot of healing needed right now. It's not a time right now to make plans for the future. I think we need to get into that new year energy first. I think this is all about hibernating, getting into our creative energy. Definitely deep breathing techniques to connect the mind to the body, because I think some of us may be feeling a little bit outside of ourselves, a little bit alienated, a little bit kind of like confused about our past, our future paths. I'm going to leave it there, Kindred. It's not all negative. It's only negative if we enforce things or force things to happen, or do you know what I mean? We just need to take a step back and really be truthful and honest with ourselves. And even if we are blind to the reality of things at the moment, the truth will always come to light. And that's where we need to hold faith. Sending you all peace and much love. Take care.